You're talking about some of the challenges in the financial markets about short-term incentives versus long-term incentives, which you're talking about in a policy context, like MLPs or REITs being available for renewables. But I'm curious, Chris, from Goldman, what the financial markets think is the likelihood that some of these structures might actually be introduced into the renewable arena, much like we've seen, the rise and fall of the yield curve over the last 2 years. What is the future for cost of capital and policy enablements that allow investors to think a little bit longer term about some of these big infrastructure questions?
Yeah, first of all, the most important thing in the capital markets is a level of certainty. So when there's peaks and valleys of when we think there's going to be credits or subsidies or incentives, you can't make long-term decisions, right? And we see that with the ITC. The extension was super positive. It just gives you a runway to understand what's going to happen. So that extension is positive. But if it's intermittent policy, it becomes very hard for the financial community to get comfortable modeling out the opportunities.
So is there any chance that we're going to start seeing financial markets, capital markets, thinking beyond the tyranny of the discount rate, as Jeremy Grantham said last night?
I haven't heard that one. MLP rules in renewables, I think, would be positive. I'm not so negatively biased on yieldcos. I think the dynamic of last summer's yieldco collapse was a perfect storm. We had a combination of MLP investors and non-MLP investors investing in renewable companies. The decline in the price of oil, I think, caused just a technical removal of MLP investors or a sale out of those entities. And those who weren't as comfortable or familiar with MLP, the MLP markets or synthetic MLP markets, will trade out in a declining market. And so you had just a perfect storm of decline. And if you can't raise capital at a certain cost, you can't grow, and you can't grow, and you have this negative spiral in yieldcos. So as a source of capital, I actually think it's a good source of capital. Should it be your sole source of capital? No.